Incredible rescue. 7-year-old girl locked in a cage revealed amazing truth with heroic police dog. The sun cast a golden hue over the quiet suburban neighborhood, kids laughing and playing tag in the freshly cut grass while their parents relaxed on porches. Among them, 7-year-old Emily was the life of the party, her bright red pigtails bouncing as she spun tales of brave knights and enchanted lands. Just a glimpse of her smile ignited warmth and light, bringing joy that lit up even the gloomiest days. But one fateful morning, Emily was gone. An empty swing swayed eerily as her father, Jack, a dedicated mechanic with calloused hands and a heart full of love, surveyed the neighborhood, his heart pounding. Every car he repaired became a reminder of the long hours he poured into keeping their little family afloat. With Emily missing, every heartbeat echoed his worry, tightening his chest with fear. How could this happen? His eyes scanned the faces in their community, familiar yet suddenly distant, burdened under the weight of whispers that hinted at his struggles. Mary, Emily's mother, tried desperately to maintain a brave face, a porcelain mask barely hiding her fear. She baked casseroles, hosted search parties, clinging to a hope that slipped away like water through her fingers. She knew the rumors would start soon about their modest lifestyle, about people like them. The thought sent chills down her spine. More than anything, she wanted to protect her daughter and shield Jack from the growing tensions that brewed in their otherwise peaceful town. Local police were quick to respond, and Officer Dave, with the help of his loyal dog Max, mobilized the community. The flurry of activity ignited a desperate search for Emily, but as days turned into agonizing stretches of silence, doubt began to seep into the hearts of many. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The neighbors watched as stories unfolded, their compassion teetering on the edge of suspicion. Officer Dave felt it too, a weight that had nothing to do with Emily's disappearance and everything to do with assumptions tethered to class. Angry whispers rippled through the town, mingled with the sound of sneakers on pavement as search parties gathered to comb every inch of the neighborhood. Just then, Max's ears perked up. His instinct kicked in, and he led Officer Dave to a darkened corner of the neighbor's yard, a small, overgrown area where shadows crept. The plea rang out, tender and trembling, cutting through the tense silence like a knife. "Help me." Emily's voice, so faint yet full of hope, ignited a fierce determination within Dave. He pushed forward, thinking of Jack and Mary, of how they needed Emily back. As he approached the shadow, it became clear that the neighborhood was now a battleground, a space where justice faced off against bias. Would Officer Dave find her in time? Would the community rally together and confront its unspoken prejudices, uniting to mend the rift that Emily's absence had laid bare? The clock ticked louder, each second a reminder that hope was fleeting. As the shadows loomed, all eyes turned toward the neighbor whose gaze hinted at bitterness, holding a secret that threatened to darken the community's heart further. The air thickened with anticipation, and with every passing moment, the question loomed: would they find Emily and recognize the truth that lay beyond mere appearances? The air seemed to hold its breath as Officer Dave crouched low, Max at his side, his nose twitching as he caught the faint scent of fear mixed with the earthy notes of damp soil. "Emily?" Dave called softly, trying to keep his voice steady as he glanced around the shrouded corner of the neighbor's yard. Silence enveloped him, amplifying the thundering of his heart. "Please, help me." The voice, though weak, was unmistakable. Dave's skin prickled with urgency. He pushed deeper into the shadows, Max leading the way, his determination unwavering. As they reached the source of the voice, a chilling sight met their eyes. Emily, her face smeared with dirt, was indeed locked in a cage, an old, rusty thing that looked as if it hadn't been used in years. Panic surged through Dave. He rushed to the cage, and in that instant, he could hear nothing but the panicked flutter of her breath. "Stay calm, Emily. We're here," he whispered, kneeling down as he worked on the lock with trembling fingers. In that moment, everything around him faded: the worries over the neighborhood's whispers, the judgment from those who should have been allies. All that mattered was getting Emily back to her family. Each click of the lock felt like a countdown to hope or despair. As the latch snapped open, relief washed over him like a wave. Emily blinked up at him, her wide eyes slowly lighting with daring hope. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice catching as he swept her into his arms once she was free. She felt small, fragile against his chest, and yet as he held her, a surge of fierce protectiveness filled him. "I was scared," she admitted, her voice muffled against his shoulder, but there was bravery hidden in her words. That simple statement shattered any lingering doubt about them: each family, each story woven together in this small town. They were all part of one intricate tapestry, and it was time to heal the frayed edges. Just then, a voice interrupted the moment. "What were you thinking?" The neighbor, Mr. Hutchins, stood a few feet away, anger etched in his features. "This is madness." It was a jarring interruption, one that sent ripples of tension through the small crowd that had gathered. "Madness?" Officer Dave snapped back, still holding Emily tightly. "You've kept her here. People are worried sick about her." But instead of stepping back or feeling guilt, Mr. Hutchins squared his shoulders defiantly. "You should have never suspected me. I'm as concerned as everyone else." His high, rising voice called attention. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting between Officer Dave and the accusing neighbor. Whispers started again, this time more pointed and questioning, as they eyed the aftermath of confinement wrapped in the thrill of rescue. Dave needed to turn this around. "Emily needs medical attention." His authoritative voice cut through the murmurs, sending a ripple of action through the crowd. "Let us keep this focused on her. Emily had gone through something unimaginable. Was she ever going to be able to shake off the fear?" As they turned to leave, the atmosphere shifted. Anger battled with empathy, and the anxiety hanging in the air morphed into an urgent sense of community. They all needed to ask the deeper questions hiding in the dark corners of their hearts, and as they made their way back, whispers turned into conversations, raw honesty breaking through walls that had long kept people apart. Where would she have gone? Someone wondered aloud, the silence growing heavy again. Was it truly just bad luck or? Officer Dave stopped, something sinking in as fragmented voices spoke over one another, their concern for Emily morphing into something more insidious. There was something much larger at work. As he held Emily close, the pieces started to click into place. Who was behind these shadows, and what secrets did their community hide? If they were going to find safety and healing for Emily and themselves, they would have to confront the truth head-on. How far would they go to uncover the real reason behind Emily's disappearance? The answer awaited them, lurking just beneath the surface, ready to spill over. Officer Dave, still holding Emily tightly, felt the warmth of her small body gradually reminding him that against the shadows of fear, there was light. But Mr. Hutchins wouldn't back down. "You won't just walk away from this," he shouted, strides echoing on the pavement. The crowd stirred again, eyes widening as a mixture of concern and curiosity swirled in the chilly evening air. "Let us get her to the hospital," Dave urged, his voice a steady anchor amidst the wavering emotions. He signaled for the nearest paramedic, who had rushed to the scene, eyes trained on Emily's pale face. The weight of the past minutes bore heavily on Dave's mind, like a film reel playing his worst fears. As the medics gently took Emily, he had to resist the urge to hold on to her. "You're safe now," he reassured her, yet he felt the tension pulsing around him. The crowd was a living entity, swelling with anxiety and confusion. Emily looked up at him with big, trusting eyes, and he knew he had to protect that trust at all costs. While the medics examined her, a voice rose from the crowd, "We all need to know what happened." Another chimed in, "How could this happen in our town?" The sentiment spread like wildfire. What had once been a tight-knit community was morphing into a cauldron of uncertainty. Dave's instincts rang louder than ever. He turned back to Mr. Hutchins, his patience fraying. "You've lived next to her family for years. Do you know anything about this?" The question hung in the air, daring anyone to break the uneasy silence. Hutchins glared, eyes narrowing. "You think I would harm a child? You think I'm some sort of monster?" His face turned a shade of crimson, portraying indignation that was less believable by the minute. Officer Dave kept his voice even. "It's not about blame, but about finding the truth. If there is something, we're missing something between any of you and her." He let the unspoken weight fill the void, and the eyes of the crowd shifted like shadows, each person grappling with their own fears and doubts. Someone from the back shouted, "You need to search his property. I've seen suspicious people coming and going." The murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, emboldening them to push for answers. The air thrummed with a mix of anticipation and dread. Dave knew they needed to act fast. "I'll need a team to assist in a search," he declared. Emily with the paramedics was safe for now, but the implications of her captivity loomed larger. He turned to Max, who was quietly at his side, sensing the change in his handler's tension. Just as he was about to walk toward the police cruiser, a sudden thought struck him. "Emily told me she saw something. Something or someone. If we can get those details? Hutchins interrupted, his voice rising with a false bravado. "You think a child could give you that? You're wasting time." That was the last straw for Dave. "I'm not wasting time. We will get to the bottom of this. I promise you that." His eyes reflected a determination shining through the fog of anxiety. He turned to rally his team, giving them instructions on how to proceed, but even as he strategized with others, Dave couldn't shake the feeling of something hiding in the town's shadows, a sinister presence that felt more real with each passing minute. They needed answers, and more than that they needed closure for Emily and for the entire community. As the auxiliary units began to organize, Dave could see an unfamiliar urgency in the eyes of the townsfolk, a need to reclaim their sense of safety. "Gather all the information you can, and remember, we will share everything we find with Emily's family," he instructed, hoping to unite them through a shared mission. As they moved toward Hutchins' property, a hard truth settled in. They were just beginning to peel back the layers of fear and deceit in their seemingly quiet town. What other secrets lay buried, waiting to be unveiled? But even as hope flickered in the air, another question loomed larger. What would they find when they stepped into that darkness? As Officer Dave and his team approached Mr. Hutchins' property, he could feel the weight of the community's fears pressing down on him like a thick fog. Every step echoed with urgency. Max, the police dog, was already alert, sniffing the air for any hint of danger, his instincts finely tuned to detect distress. The scene before them was unsettling. The front yard, once an innocuous part of suburban life, now felt laden with suspicion. Hutchins stood rigid, arms crossed, his bravado faltering as he tried to maintain dominion over the situation. Yet the fire in Dave's heart pushed him forward, each heartbeat echoing the promise he made to Emily. "Let us split up," he directed his team, eyes locked onto Hutchins as if daring him to say something more. "Max, you stay close." The dog had become more than just a partner, he was a symbol of loyalty and protection, the embodiment of what Dave needed to channel in this storm of uncertainty. As they moved, the air was thick with tension. Neighbors whispered among themselves, eyes darting to Hutchins' home as if expecting the worst to unfold. Dave stopped at the front door, the faded paint peeling like the facade of normalcy that had veiled their town for so long. "You're going to have to let us in," he asserted, his voice steady but quiet enough to avoid drawing unnecessary attention. "Not without a warrant," Hutchins barked, but doubt flickered behind his eyes. The tension between him and the officers was palpable, a taut line ready to snap. "Emily's life is on the line," Dave said, stepping closer, pushing past Hutchins' defiance with unwavering conviction. "If you're innocent, then you have nothing to fear. We need to help her." The powerful plea struck a chord, and for a fleeting moment, Hutchins seemed to waver. But then he shook his head defiantly, deflating any hope for cooperation. "You're making a mistake. I've done nothing wrong. The team behind Dave shifted uneasily. A murmur of discontent rose from the crowd as people exchanged glances, the tension sparking like dry kindling. Without waiting for Hutchins' consent, Dave motioned for his team to breach the threshold. Inside, the musty air shrouded the rooms in secrecy. Each step felt like trespassing into a dark realm of whispers and shadows. As they searched, Max moved energetically, head lowered, following the scent that carried something eerie. Dave felt a chill as he observed the graying wallpaper suddenly transformed in his mind. Each scratched surface, each dusty corner now felt like a clue leading to a truth long buried. "Check the basement," Dave instructed, and the team spread out cautiously. As they descended the stairs, he couldn't shake the feeling of dread building like a storm above. Every creak of the old wood echoed like a heartbeat in the silence. Suddenly, Max stopped and stood at a closed door, a low growl rumbling from deep within him. Dave's heart raced. "Open it," he ordered a fellow officer, fear and hope entwined around his heart like vines. The door swung open with a groan that seemed to resonate with the gravity of the moment. What they found inside sent icy fingers racing down Dave's spine. The dimly lit room revealed a small cage, barely big enough for a child, and there, curled up inside, was Emily. Her wide eyes glimmered under the faint light, filled with confusion and both fear and hope. A rush of relief surged through Dave, but it was quickly overshadowed by the realization of the reality they faced. "Emily!" he exclaimed, rushing forward, but part of him hesitated. He didn't want to scare her. "It's okay, it's Officer Dave. I'm here to take you home." As he knelt beside the cage, Max whined softly, licking Emily's hand, offering comfort, but while the crowd outside buzzed with anticipation, the real nightmare was only beginning to unfurl. Hutchins' shadow loomed large in the doorway, his expression shifting from angry defiance to something darker, as if Dave had crossed an unspoken boundary. With Emily safe but the threat still nearby, a chilling question lingered in the air: what would Hutchins do next? Dave's heart raced as he locked eyes with Emily. She looked so small and vulnerable curled up in that cage, yet her wide-eyed gaze projected a mix of hope and uncertainty. He wanted to reach out, to assure her everything would be okay, but there was a palpable tension in the room, like the air before a storm. "Stay close, Max," he whispered, the dog already inching forward with a protective stance. He could feel Hutchins' presence weighing down the doorway, a looming threat in the shadows. "Get away from her!" Hutchins barked, his voice cutting through the silence, shrill with a mixture of anger and desperation. It felt like a slap against the tender moment that was trying to unfold. "Just take a breath, Hutchins," Dave said, remaining crouched by the cage, intentionally small and non-threatening. "We're here for Emily. Let her go and nobody gets hurt. No one is hurting her." Hutchins shouted back, stepping into the dim light of the basement, his features twisted with rage. "I've done nothing wrong. This is all a mistake." Just beyond the basement door, the officers exchanged worried glances. Dave could sense their tension, the uncertainty that hung in the air like a fog. This wasn't just about Emily anymore, it was about Hutchins' unwillingness to see what was happening right in front of him. "Emily," Dave said softly, turning his attention back to her. "Can you hear me? I need you to be brave for a minute longer. Can you do that?" Emily nodded, though her little voice trembled as she replied. "I'm scared, I know," he said gently, pain flooding his heart as he watched her fragile frame. "But we're going to get you out of here. I promise." Hutchins clenched his fists, his body tense with barely contained fury. "You don't know what you're doing. Don't touch her." Feeling the weight of the moment, Dave took a deep breath. He knew the longer they stayed in this stalemate, the more dangerous it became. "Hutchins, this isn't helping. If you let her out, we can talk. No one needs to be hurt." For a moment, time seemed to stretch. Everything hung in the balance: Hutchins' erratic desperation and Dave's steadfast determination colliding in a heartbreaking dance. "Step away from her!" Hutchins suddenly yelled, his voice cutting sharper, and in a flash, he lunged forward, blocking Dave's path to Emily. Max reacted like a coil spring, moving instinctively between Hutchins and Dave. The dog growled low and feral, rising fur in warning. The shift in energy was electric. Dave's pulse raced, he had to act fast. "I want to let you hurt her," he growled, his voice firm. Hutchins sneered, panic flickering across his features. "Get that mutt out of my way." But Max wasn't budging. He stood his ground, teeth bared, ready to protect. "Emily!" Dave called out again, still crouched and calm. "Do you want to come out?" "Yes." Emily's voice was stronger now, fueled by a spark of hope. Just that small word ignited an inferno inside Dave, pushing him forward. "Then I need you to listen to me, Hutchins. Let her out, or this is only going to get worse for you." The atmosphere thickened with imminent chaos. Hutchins' fury hung in the air, but Dave's unwavering gaze seemed to crack through the veneer of Hutchins' bravado. "What are you waiting for?" one of the officers behind him urged, the silence stretched, taut and ready to snap, when Hutchins glanced to Emily for just a moment too long. In that flicker of weakness, Dave saw an opportunity. And then, a sound broke through the tension, the unmistakable sound of sirens approaching in the distance. Hutchins' eyes widened, his resolve wavering, as panic replaced anger. "You can't do this." In that moment, the decision hung heavy in the air. Would Hutchins fight back, or would he finally give in? "Let her go!" Dave shouted, the urgency boiling over, knowing they were at a critical breaking point. The seconds felt like hours. As the sirens drew closer, which way would Hutchins go? Fear gripped them all, and a choice awaited that would change everything. Dave felt the tension in the air thicken like a primordial fog. Every muscle in his body screamed urgency as he stared down Hutchins, whose face twisted in conflict. The sirens blaring outside were a siren call of hope, but to Hutchins, they were the sharp teeth of consequences closing in. "Emily," he breathed, keeping his voice steady, "remember what I said? You're brave. You can do this." Max's growl became a low rumble that echoed Dave's sentiment, "They wouldn't back down." I can't." Emily's voice trembled, a child's disbelief wrapped in fear. It broke Dave's heart to see such innocence so brutally shackled. "You can." Dave insisted, but his words felt like a fragile thread in the tempest. "Just trust me. We're almost there." Hutchins flinched. There it was again, Emily's light seeping through the cracks of his dark resolve. "Shut up. You don't understand." His voice erupted, a storm of rage and desperation. "I'm the only one who cares about her. You're just going to take her away. Let me help you, Hutchins." Dave pressed, trying to find the knots of humanity still twisted inside the man before him. "You're scared. I get it. But keeping her locked up isn't the answer. We can figure this out together. It doesn't have to end badly." "Together?" Hutchins spat, his eyes wild. "What do you know about together? What do you know about anything?" The beat of sirens grew louder, a relentless reminder of the ticking clock. Dave took a cautious step forward, his heart racing. "I know what it feels like to be lost. I know how important it is to let go and trust. Emily deserves to be free, Hutchins. Please don't let fear win today." Time fractured in that moment, and Dave could see Hutchins wavering, the storm clouds of emotion brewing within him. But then, the crack began to close and the anger surged back to the surface. Hutchins lunged forward, a flash of movement that sent Dave's heart into a tailspin. "Don't come any closer," he yelled as he pointed a shaky finger. "Stay away. I want to let her go." Emily's whimpers tumbled through the fear-filled air, pulling with them a fierce determination from deep within Dave. This was the moment of truth. He had to create a small crack in Hutchins' facade. "Remember the stories, Emily?" he called out gently, redirecting his focus. That time you told me about your favorite book? You said every hero has to make a choice, even when something feels impossible. Make him stop. I don't want to leave. Emily cried. But deep down, she wanted to. Dave could see it flickering behind her terrified eyes. Hutchins was losing grounds every time he looked at her. Tell him he has to trust you, Emily. Dave urged, exuding calm, even as panic curled within him. Tell him he can make a new story. A better one. Don't let fear decide. I don't want to be scared anymore. Emily's voice was soft yet defiant, carrying a weight that thrummed through the dank room. Hutchins froze. Something he hadn't expected flickered in his eyes. Maybe it was recognition or defeat. Let her go, Dave stated, each word a dagger thrown straight at Hutchins' heart. A heartbeat passed, heavy with silence. And then, a sound so fragile it broke the tension. Emily's small voice, shaking yet resonant. Please, Mr. Hutchins, I trust you, but I need to go. One breath, then another. Every second weighed painfully as the world held its breath, waiting for the moment to snap. Would Hutchins shatter? Would he finally set Emily free? As doubt clouded his features, the sirens rang like a chorus behind them, an ominous backdrop to a fragile moment. Dave knew they were all moments away from a decision that could change everything. Would it shatter? Hutchins' resolve flickered one last time. What would he do? Hutchins stood there, his finger trembling. The sirens wailed in the distance, a relentless reminder of the world outside, a world that was pressing in on them, demanding answers. Emily's plea hung in the air, raw and piercing. The weight of it threatened to crush the fragile hope Dave had been nurturing. Time stretched, each second feeling like an eternity. Dave saw the flicker in Hutchins' eyes, the conflict playing out like a movie reel. In one moment, Hutchins could be a caring guardian, succumb to his fear and paranoia. In the next, he could be a frazzled man desperately holding onto a fading dream. Think about her, Hutchins. Dave urged, stepping closer, his heart pounding with both fear and resolve. Look at her face. She's scared. She doesn't want to live like this. You're hurting her, alone in this cage of fear. Something shifted. Hutchins' breath hitched, and for the first time, doubt flickered through his fervent eyes. The grip of power that seemed to encapsulate him began to falter. I am trying to protect her. Hutchins shouted, his voice trembling as raw emotion bubbled to the surface. He was pulling pieces of himself apart, and Dave could see it, the fear of losing Emily gnashing against the realization that he might be the one causing her pain. No. You're trapping her. Dave shot back, his voice steady, filled with purpose. Protection shouldn't come from a cage. It should be about love. The kind that allows her to grow, to explore. Be the champion she believes you can be. Emily stepped forward as if compelled, her small face filled with resolve. Mr. Hutchins, I want to choose. I want to fight my own battles. I don't want to be afraid anymore. Her voice, although small, cut through the heavy air, resonating with a stubborn strength that made Dave proud. Yet, Hutchins' face twisted, caught between two impossible choices. I can't let her go. He stammered, finally lowering his weapon, but his body still bristled with uncertainty. What if they take her from me? What if I never see her again? His anguish clawed at Dave's heart. In that moment, they weren't just two men in a confrontation. They were two fathers, connected by their deep desire to protect a child but divided by how they viewed that protection. You don't have to say goodbye, Hutchins, Dave said softly, allowing a small breath of hope to escape. Just step back. The world out there is scary, yeah, but it's also filled with love and possibility. Don't you want her to have a shot at that? The words hung between them like fragile glass, ready to shatter with one wrong move. Hutchins blinked rapidly, his armor slowly cracking. Emily, his voice broke, a whisper laced with desperation. I don't know if I can do this. Tears slipped down Emily's cheeks. You can. Just trust me back, please. The unyielding bond between them seemed to draw taut, a thread woven by trust and vulnerability. As the sirens nestled closer, Hutchins' shoulders sagged, the fight draining from him. Dave dared to take a step closer, heart racing. He could sense it, the moment teetering on the edge of collapse or breakthrough. Let us find a way to rebuild, Hutchins, Dave urged, his voice steady. Let us bring her home, together. The silence was thick, pregnant with hope, desperation, and anticipation. Could he finally break Hutchins' bond of fear? What would it take to free Emily from the chains of both fear and misplaced protection? As Hutchins stared into Emily's tear-filled eyes, they all held their breath. Would he make that leap of faith, or would they all be left standing in darkness? Hutchins was a man torn, grappling with an invisible war within. The echo of the sirens seemed to amplify his own internal chaos. His hands trembled, and in that moment, Dave could see the walls he built around himself begin to crumble just as he risked approaching the old man. Just breathe, Hutchins, Dave urged gently. It's okay to be scared. We all are. But letting her go, that could be the beginning of something new, a chance for both of you. Emily's eyes never left her father's. They were two worlds colliding, the love of a father and the desperate plea of a daughter. The silence now felt heavier, stretching thin as if the very air between them was thick with unspoken words. Her heart pounded in rhythm with his own, and with each beat, she silently begged him to understand. Hutchins stepped back slightly, and Dave noticed how the gun in his hand slowly lowered as if it were a weight he'd carried for too long. I can't take the risk, he said, trembling, his voice barely above a whisper. What if the world out there, it swallows her whole? It might, Hutchins. But that's life. You can't shield her from everything, Dave replied, his words tinged with urgency. And you shouldn't. Love means giving her the tools to navigate the wild, to soar when the time comes. For a fleeting moment, doubt flickered with a fierce light in Hutchins' eyes, and in that instant, Emily rushed forward, her small frame glowing with determination. Dad, you taught me to be brave. I don't want to hide anymore, she said, her voice breaking slightly, yet powerful enough to leave a mark. Hutchins staggered back, the weight of her words hitting him like a thunderclap. Bravery can be dangerous, sweetheart, he whispered, shaking his head as if denying the truth in her eyes. Emily took a deep breath, tears shimmering like diamonds on her cheeks. But not trying, that's far worse. She held that fragile gaze, unyielding yet soaked in vulnerability. Hutchins squeezed his eyes shut, as if trying to block out the truth pounding on his skull. The sirens wailed louder now, a chaotic symphony of the outside world, invading his protective bubble. It was no longer just about him. Finally, he opened his eyes, trembling lips parting to let the words spill out. What if I lose you? I can't go back to that. I can't live with that fear. Dan's heart cracked a little. They were standing on the brink of something critical, and Hutchins had to make the choice. It was as if a dam had burst within him, and all that fear and love flooded out, threatening to drown them both. Sometimes losing is part of finding, Dave said earnestly, feeling the swelling tide of emotion. But if you really want to protect her, you have to trust her. That's the hardest part, Hutchins said, shaking visibly. He wiped his tears away, revealing the broken man beneath. It's the most important part, Emily added softly, taking another step closer. I believe in you, Dad. Just believe in me too. They stood there, the world narrowing to just their triangle of anguish and hope. The sirens faded slightly, and Dave held his breath, wishing for the impossible to become real. Was this the moment of truth they were all waiting for? Just then, Hutchins flinched, as if waking from a bad dream. What if I can't face the world after all this? Dave knew they were standing at a precipice, all of them at risk of falling back into the darkness. Then we face it together, Dave said, reaching out as if to embrace the fragile connection they were establishing. Hope flickered in their eyes, trembling ever so slightly. Will Hutchins take that leap? What will happen when acceptance meets fear head-on? Hutchins felt the weight of those words hang in the air, almost stifling. He looked from Emily's tear-streaked face to Dave's steady gaze, searching for an anchor in the storm of his emotions. The sirens shrieked in the distance but suddenly felt like a distant echo, as if the real noise was the tumult within him. Emily stepped forward again, her small hand reaching out, fingers trembling. "I need you to let go, Dad. Not just for me, but for you. It's okay to be scared, but you can't let that fear control us." Her voice wavered, but there was a strength in it that Hutchins couldn't ignore. Control? He almost laughed bitterly, the sound escaping like a broken sigh. "I can't control anything anymore." His words felt raw, jagged like shards of glass. "Look at this place. Look at me." "Yes, we're all scared," Dave interjected, glancing nervously at the shadows creeping in. Their moment of reckoning felt painfully fragile, the darkness of the world creeping back in. "But fear can't be the boss anymore. You've held on long enough, Hutchins. It's time to break free." Hutchins stood there, torn between the shackles of his past and the promise of a future he could hardly picture. His mind raced through memories of days spent locked away, a prison made of love and fear. Suddenly, the old warmth of a father's embrace felt heavy, suffocating. "Will I even be able to face the world if I let her go?" he asked, his voice breaking. The vulnerability hung thick around them, like a fragile layer over an impending storm. The young girl before him nodded thoughtfully. "You won't be alone, Dad. I'll be right there, taking steps with you together. Trust me." The sincerity of her plea melted a layer of his hard exterior. Hutchins found himself teetering between fear and the flicker of hope ignited in his daughter's eyes. Her bravery contrasted vividly with his own, and the realization surged through him. Maybe letting her go didn't mean losing her at all. "Do you think you can handle the world, Emily?" Hutchins asked, his voice uncertain. "If I let you take that chance I can handle it," she insisted, her face bright with determination. "But I don't want to do it without you. We can face whatever comes together. Just look for me in the crowd. I'll find my way back." Dave watched, holding his breath, sensing the earth shifting beneath all of them. The air crackled with urgency as Hutchins' entirely conflicted soul wrestled at the edge of decision. It was unnerving, beautiful, and so vastly human. "You shouldn't have to bear this alone," Dave said quietly. "Maybe it's time to let the walls fall, Hutchins. We're all here. You don't need to carry this weight." As the sirens waned, Hutchins took a shuddering breath, tasting the uncertainty that hung around him. The moments felt like years, and yet they were so fleeting. Time waited for no one. Hutchins glanced at Emily, feeling a rekindled flicker in his own heart, a slow warmth blooming. Could he really do it? Would he be brave enough to stand beside her to face the unknown, hand in hand? "Okay," he finally uttered, almost as if declaring a new beginning. Before he could change his mind, he took a step towards her, then another, the gun falling from his grip, clattering against the ground. In that moment, the precarious hold he had on his fear began to crack, but just as the spark of hope lit the path forward, a sudden movement at the edge of their gathering caught his attention. Shadows shifted and a silhouette emerged, stirring an unsettling dread within him. What now stood between them and freedom? What was lurking that could tear apart this fragile moment of courage? Hutchins' heart pounded anew as the realization set in, their fight wasn't over yet. Hutchins felt the air crackle with a mix of hope and dread as the shadow moved closer. The figure stepped into the dim light, and fear gripped his heart. A notorious figure from town, someone associated with darker dealings, a reminder of the very world he had shielded Emily from for far too long. "Let us not be hasty, Hutchins," the man sneered, eyes glinting with ill intent. "You don't want to choose the wrong side." Gripped by panic, Hutchins instinctively slid closer to Emily. It was in that moment he realized the true meaning of protection. It wasn't about dominance but about relentless courage. "You leave my daughter alone," he shouted, his voice steady, rumbling against his fear. Around them, the crowd reacted, their silence filled with uncertainty. The very fabric of their community felt stretched, tested against the new threat. Dave stepped forward, becoming a shield at Hutchins' side. "This stops now," he said, his tone commanding yet calm. "You've got no hold here." The figure shot back a laugh, dismissive, armed with perceived power. "You think you can handle this? You're all weak. Fear the consequences of your choices." The weight of those words felt heavy, pressing down on the crowd. Yet Hutchins felt adrenaline coursing through his veins as he looked to Emily, whose wide, trusting eyes reminded him of his resolve. Fear had no place in their future. "Get away from us," Hutchins said firmly, stepping forward, lowering his voice to a whisper meant only for himself. "For Emily. For me. I will not let you take our hope away." Facing the man, Hutchins felt the strength within him solidify. This was his moment to reclaim not only his daughter's future but his own. The figure stiffened, sensing the shift in the air, and there was a flicker of hesitation. It was all Hutchins needed. "This is my daughter. My family," he yelled, the urgency of a father's love pouring from him. "You will not tear us apart any longer." In that moment, a tide of community spirit flooded back. Neighbors moved closer, standing united against the encroaching shadow. "Face the truth," someone shouted from the crowd. "There's south no place for fear here anymore." The figure sneered, glancing around for allies, but the unity he sensed made him falter. The chant of urgency swelled amongst neighbors. One by one, they stepped forward, until no one stood behind the figure, just Hutchins, Emily, and the resilience of a community ready to heal. "Leave us," Hutchins declared, voice steady as steel. With the weight of the world on his shoulders, Hutchins found strength in Emily's hand, gripping tightly as she squeezed back. "We will be a story of courage," she declared softly, every word echoing through her father's mind, pulling together the very fabric of love and hope that binds families. "This is our story to tell." The figure hesitated, hostility fading against the strength of the bond before him. The moment hung in the air, fragile yet powerful. "Get out," Hutchins said again, louder, drawing more strength with every word. "We are not afraid of you anymore." As both man and shadow felt the new fabric of courage, a crack appeared in the darkness. The figure began to back away, unsteady upon seeing that fear had not swallowed them whole, and the collective strength could forge a safer path. "Leave," Hutchins added, standing tall. "You've lost. We stand together stronger than before." Finally, the figure turned and melted into the shadows he had emerged from, everyone around them exhaling around them, the rush of relief flooding through the crowd as the weight began to lift. Small hands gripped tightly against larger ones, and Hutchins knelt to Emily's level, his eyes filled with unshed tears. "You were so brave, Emily," he said, voice thick with emotion. "I promise I will never let fear make our choices again." Emily's smile lit up the fading day as she whispered, "Together." The crowd erupted into applause, some sniffles echoing through those gathered. As adrenaline waned, the comfort of community began to clothe them against the chill of fear. It had taken courage to face down darkness, but together, they had found their light. Officer Dave stepped forward, his heart swelling for both fathers and daughters, for the town that had once been divided but had now found unity. "Let us make a choice together. Let us build a better future, one where fear can't control us." In that moment, everything changed. They were no longer just individuals trapped in their struggles. They were a community, ready to stand up for one another, to protect, to nurture, and to thrive. As twilight settled over the town, families gathered close, sharing stories, hopes, and dreams, laughter echoing as Emily's triumphant spirit became the beacon of the neighborhood. They would heal, they would grow, and as they looked toward an open future, the past would linger behind them a fading shadow. And each heart beat in rhythm, a promise renewed, a joy reclaimed. Now is the moment to take action. You need to subscribe now to stay connected and not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you just like this one. Hit that like button right now and show your support. Every like fuels our journey. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings on this gripping ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this amazing transformation. Let us grow together as a community.